Hey YouTube land, Tycanders here, coming back at you with more action figure reviews, and today we're looking at not one, not two, but three, well, it's all of Wave 1 of the 2026 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Godzilla. Now, obviously I don't have the figures in front, I just have the empty boxes, but I just wanted to have a quick look at the boxes and then we'll flip around and get into the figures themselves. So Wave 1 consists of three figures. You have Mighty X King Ghidorah, the three-headed mutant. You have Leo X Godzilla, the king of the mutants. And then you have Raph X Rodan, mutant of the sky. I think they should have gone with hot-headed mutant for Raph, because Rodan is like the fire creature. So it would have been more fun kind of go with it. So on the side of the packaging, you just have an image kind of in the turtles, standard turtles style. And then flipping around to the back of the box, you have a image of all the turtles, including Donatello, who is actually going to be part of Wave 2. So they have confirmed three figures for Wave 2. And that is consisting of Donatello as Jet Jaguar, as you can see him down here in the corner. Or down here in the middle, I should say. And then you have Splinter as King Caesar, and Shredder as Mecha Godzilla, which is a great fit for Shredder. Now, I had done a little research because I was kind of curious if they do a Mothra, who they were going to go with Mothra, and I was thinking April would make a perfect Mothra, and I would be pretty much correct because there is a wave of Funko figures that mimic these figures. So you have, in the Funko line, you have Leo as Godzilla, you have Mikey as Ghidorah, and Raph as Rodan. But also in the Funko line, they actually have another wave of figures which haven't gotten a larger scale re-release, which is Bebop. I'm trying to remember who. It was Rocksteady was Destroyer. I can't remember who Bebop was off the top of my head. I think it was... It could have been... It wasn't Gamera. It was... I think it was Gigan. And then you had Krang as Hedorah, which is really cool. The fog monster, who's that smog monster. It's actually a perfect fit for Krang. And then April is actually the Mothra figure, which I was kind of bang on my assumption that they could do April as Mothra. They're only in the kind of pop vine or pop Funko style, but hopefully they will do them in this style as well. So there is a QR code in the bottom. I'll grab a close-up of that at some point and truck it in. There is a write-up on these boxes, so it says, up from the sewers 30 stories high, breathing fire for their half shells in the sky. It's Turtles X Godzilla. And then so it says, mutants and monsters mash up in this epic TMNT and Godzilla X crossover, combining elements from the classic 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV series with the nostalgia style of the 1978 Godzilla animated TV series. This time it's the celebrate some unique Kawabunga Kaiju dudes. So, and that's the same write-up that's on all three boxes. And you can see the scale is 1 to 12,000. So, or 1,200. So it is pretty cool how they have this thing scaled up. So we're going to pause here for the boxes. So here are all three heroes in a half shell in their kaiju forms, I suppose to say. So the best thing we'll have a look at is we'll go with Leo first, and we'll then do the other two. So Leo is pretty cool. We'll move the other two completely out of the way for the moment. We'll have a quick look at Leo, and I'll try and splice in some close-ups of him. So Leo comes with his signature swords, which is pretty cool. All the kaiju so far that are in this wave have their signature weapons, which is a kind of a nice touch. Now, because it's so hot over here, everything's kind of gummy. But you get his sword, which is done in a nice, I believe it's cast in this blue transparent, and then this paint app for the silver for the blade, and then the blue for the wrapping for the handles for the sword guards. Now, unfortunately, there isn't any storage on these guys, so it's literally just having them holding the weapon is what you're going with. And there is a small bit of assembly required for each figure. So for Leo here, I believe his assembly was the shell on the back needed to be plugged in, and I believe his tail was a separate piece. I could be wrong. I know Mikey's tail was separate, but for Leo, he's definitely, his shell is an actual separate piece. I do love how you have Godzilla's spines breaking through the shell, which is pretty cool. They are quite articulated, but I'm just going to get him into kind of a standard pose or a standard height pose, and we'll just take a measurement. I'm going to do a good old tape measure. So he is just around, a little around 5, just over 5¼ I'd say, inches in height. He is a little bit longer than your standard turtle because he has the tail, so you're looking at least nearly 6 with the length of the tail on the back. So he could take up a little bit of retail space on your shelf. Articulation wise, they all pretty much have the same articulation. So we'll just run through Leo's and I'll just go through any differences that are on anyone else. But his arms can go up really high. You can do over T-pose. They can rotate around. They're on a kind of a joint. You can see the pin for the joint there. Head is on a ball joint. You have a single jointed elbow with a swivel. You got swivel in the wrist. There's no hinge on the wrist, but they're very gummy, so that's something to be wary of. His tail does have an articulation point where it connects onto the body. His legs are interesting. So he has that kind of similar hinge joint that the shoulders have, and you have a kind of, if you want the legs to be out, you have to kind of do it that way, and you can kind of do the T-pose or a split, but then like the front of the knee isn't exactly pointing forwards, so you kind of have to rotate it to match that. He does have a knee joint here, and then he has a standard kind of joint for the rotation with the ankle. There is peg holes on these, but they don't come with stands. There is no waist articulation, and I believe that is across the board. None of them have waist articulation, mainly because of the sculpting and the way they're put together and constructed. Because Leo's shell completely covers his back, it would have been hard to kind of add in a actual knee or waist articulation or ab crunch or any of that kind of stuff. But he is what he is. So we're going to have a look at Raph next, mainly because Mikey takes up quite a lot of space. He's actually the largest out of them because of his wingspan. Even though Raph has a wingspan as well, he is nowhere near as large as Mikey. So again, he's around 5, maybe 5.5 to the little tips of his horns. And again, just like with Leo, he comes with his signature weapons. What's interesting about Raph's ones is instead of them having the silver for the actual sai in the center of it, it's just all fire, which is kind of cool. It kind of goes with his hot-headed temper sort of idea as well. You know, he has flaming sai, which is a nice nod. He has the shell. Now, he doesn't have any assembly. This wing thing is actually attached to him in the box. You can see he has the kind of spikes coming out of his back, where Rodan would have those kind of extra spikes running down. He has, all the turtles kind of have like their signature kind of 2 toes and 3 fingers kind of deal going on, which is kind of cool because like Godzilla is known for having, like, depending on which version of Godzilla he has between 3 and like 5 toes on his feet, where they went with the turtles look with just the 2 and the kind of hind ones. Again, same articulation as Leo. So he has the same articulation here. Now, he is hindered in his arms. That's the only part where he is hindered. So unlike Leo, because these things are permanently attached, the wings are permanently attached to his hands, you could, I think, pop them off, but it would look weird. You can pop the hand out, I would imagine. If they're kind of gummy enough, they might pop out. And where these wraps are that hold on the wing, they are a separate piece, so they do kind of move out of the way. There is also splits in the wings as well, which is handy. Now, I don't know what the longevity of the material that the wings are made out of would be. I would be wary about it deteriorating over time. It is kind of a translucent plastic or rubbery plastic, so it might deteriorate quite. Like, it's a bendy, kind of flappy plastic. It is glued in place on the back here. You can kind of see where on his belt where it's actually glued, or like locked in place. Again, as I said, no waist articulation. He does have that kind of cool kind of spikes things going on with his chest as well, with the front of his turtle shell, which is kind of cool. The paint apps on these guys are really good as well. And as I said, the head is on a ball joint, so you get great range of movement for rafts. Same with Leos. You get they have a great expression on their heads. Now the one thing I'm not a huge fan of Rafts one. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but where they put the beak for Rodan on to his face, there's like a small gap here. Not so much on his right side, but it's a bit more noticeable on the left because it's a separate piece that's kind of glued in place. But other than that, he is pretty cool. And the one other kind of sad thing is he can't do the kind of standard raft thing where he puts the scythe through his that's kind of become more common for the more modern versions of rafts, where he puts the scythe and it blades through his knuckles, so kind of Wolverine style. But you can't do that. But other than that, he is pretty cool. So I'm not going to bother pausing again. I'm just going to go straight into Mikey, because Mikey is big and chunky. I'll try and get him to stand up. He's very top heavy, I will say that. So we'll try and get him to stand as best as we can and take a measurement off him. Here we go, Mikey. He has, not only does he have the wings, he also has a tail, which makes him really big. He does have the most assembly needed out of all of them. So for Mikey, he stands, to the tips of his horns, he's nearly 6. But if you factor in the wings, they come up to about 7. Nearly 7.5, because he's leaning up to one side. He seems to be higher on one side than the other. He does come with nunchucks, which are in a kind of translucent yellow with orange wrapping. It is cool. They're supposed to simulate Ghidorah's kind of, with a bit electric attack, I think it is. Some sort of, it's like electric power attack that he has. But it also, with the way it's done, they almost look like mutagen canisters as well that he's holding, which is kind of like a double nod, which is pretty cool. So, oh, and for his tail, we didn't measure him from his tail. He has double tail, because that's the way Ghidorah it normally comes. He has like weird turtle shell things on his tail, which is kind of cool. Again, he's about the same as Leo with the length, about 6-ish inches, thereabouts, depending on how you have him displayed. So he's about the same length tail-wise for Leo, which is weird because the tail looks longer, but I just think it's because it's a thinner looking tail, whereas Leo's one is a lot more chunky. But he does have the double tail. For assembly-wise, the tail is actually one of the parts that needs to be assembled, and these wings have to be plugged in place. So the tail actually comes in 2 parts in the box. You plug them together and then you plug them into the back. Now, unfortunately, I didn't do any of that on screen because I have him already assembled, but he is super cool. So I'm going to grab his little doodads out of his hands, his nunchucks, a nunchaku, I think it is. He does have the signature Mikey wraps. He has the M on the belt for Mikey. Same with Leo and Raph, they have their signature looks. I do love the head on this guy. What is really cool about this guy, he has the extra heads to complete the look. Now it is a bit weird because he doesn't have the lower jaws of those heads. So if you want him to look more like a standard Ghidorah without the thing, you can put him together like so. So you have the hands, they just clasp onto his hands. There's like little big kind of pegs on the inside of the heads that you can see where they would normally fit onto the body. They're the same dimension as his hands, so they just fit onto his hands. And again, you don't have the you do have articulation on these, so if you wanted to have them kind of doing the, was it the Kevin style thing with the derpy head, you can kind of do that. But like the heads, they don't, the eyes aren't painted on them. If you wanted to, you probably could paint up the eyes on them, so that when you do this kind of pose, you have, it does look like they're extra heads and not just heads on a hand. And it would be cool if maybe someone figured out some way of doing like a lower jaw that you could just plug in underneath. That would be awesome. Like it is a little bit of a failing that they don't have that, but I think this was more of a afterthought for once they had the figure designed. But you can just see in the back of those, they have like big pegs, big chunky pegs that fit onto those shoulders, plug into place, and then you have those heads back on the shoulders. I do think over time, like buying these on secondary markets, I would imagine those heads are going to be one of the most lost part on this, along with the weapons for the each of the turtles. But other than that, I think he is pretty cool. I do love the kind of translucent plastic they used for the yellow for the wings. It just makes him look really, really cool. And he is kind of the most intimidating out of all of them, considering how like Godzilla technically should be the most intimidating. So we bring them all back in, have them together on their little stand, and we will have a little quick look at them again. And just because I have them handy, I have these. I believe they're from the 2014 Godzilla line. From, it wasn't Leonard. I can't remember who made them originally. I think it could have been Jazzwares, but the old 2014 Godzilla line, and I believe it's that one. Actually, no, sorry, I'm wrong. It's the King of the Monsters line, the one that came with Ghidorah and Rodan. Had these little small pack indestructible buildings. So if you wanted to go to town and have them breaking a building, have Leo punching a building, you can do that. Or have Raph knocking over a building, you can do that. There is also like building sets that you can get on places like AliExpress and Temu and all those kind of Chinese websites. They do like small scale buildings that if you wanted to kind of do a diorama set without going to the hassle of actually making them yourself, you could probably pick up a couple of them cheap and do a little kind of road cityscape destruction thing going on, which is kind of cool. So you're going to move these aside for now, and we will wrap up here. I am hoping to get the others in the second wave when they drop. I did pick these up at Smith's, which is weird. It's kind of it's such a niche line. It's kind of obscure that they actually picked them up. They went with them, but I do love the look of these guys. So I hope you like my video review for them. They are pretty cool. I don't really have anything that's in scale technically, except for those buildings. Like you can see how they scale with like a 6-inch figure. They're a lot taller than a 6-inch figure. If you have other Turtles figures, they probably scale better with them. But like anything else that I have offhand would be way out of scale for them. So there you go, guys. I'm going to wrap this up here, and I hope you enjoyed this video review. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I hope you have a great day wherever you are watching this in the world. Cheers. Thanks for watching.